Very well. Good morning, everybody, ministers, excellencies, members of the European Commission. It is a pleasure and a privilege for me to welcome you here in Malta for the third high-level conference of the Westmed countries. Of course, Malta working a lot since time immemorial in the blue economy, a few nautical miles away from the international trade route between Gibraltar and the Suez Canal makes it a perfect place to host this conference, of course under the presidency of Malta and Mauritania. You do understand that this meeting took place for the very first time 5 years ago. It was launched during the Maltese presidency of the European Union, and you do agree with me that it was a story of success. Just yesterday, together with my counterpart, I had the opportunity to sit for the conference of stakeholders during which they promoted what was achieved in the last few years. More than 100 projects with a cost of 92 million euro of investment. And this augurs well for the future. We are discussing the blue economy, a topic which is at heart and very important for all our countries, discussing, of course, the traditional sectors of the shipping, the transshipment, coastal tourism, ship repair, and our aim is to consolidate what we achieved and what we plan to achieve in the coming years. But, of course, looking at new niche markets, the future, topics such as offshore renewables, highly topical nowadays, also at different conferences, the blue pharma, blue biotech, green ports and green ships. The common denominator between the old and the new is the concept of sustainability. And this is where our heart lies. There are plenty of opportunities. I had the privilege to attend a conference a few days ago in Brussels on the blue economy at European level, and we discussed at length the opportunities there are, the foreign direct investment looking at this topic, at this industry, but also a plethora of startups looking at growing together in this particular industry. Of course, there are the challenges. Preserving the sea, which gives us a lot, but also the big challenge of climate change. Nowadays, I'm the minister responsible in Malta for transport and infrastructure, but under the last legislature, I served as minister for the environment and climate change. So I do understand the challenges we have, the targets we have to reach, and what we subscribe for. And now we have to implement them. So climate change definitely is our key challenge amongst us. The aim, of course, is to create more jobs, more quality jobs for our people. The upskilling, the reskilling, the blue skills we need for the industries of today and tomorrow. But also because the maritime industry is a big chunk of our gross domestic product, our economy. So we'll have to look forward. Westmed is a forum and became, in the last 5 years, a forum of dialogue and of soft diplomacy, as we've experienced in the last few days. We have the targets on a global level. We discuss our targets when it comes to, for example, the maritime sector with the Commission, but also at IMO level. But then the implementation has to be continental, has to be regional, has to be local. And the Mediterranean is a perfect example of this. We need all stakeholders. I had the opportunity, as I explained in Brussels, to speak with the industry, and we need the industry on board. Without the industry, we will go nowhere. And the fact that the industry is on board, and the fact that we give them visibility, not just for the next few years, but for the next 10, 15 years, is very important for them to be on board too. But likewise, we need the academics, we need the NGOs, the non-governmental organizations, we need the small and medium-sized enterprises, we need local government, we need all actors together. And I believe that we do agree here that in the last 5 years we've experienced success with the Westmed project because we had everyone on board, all layers of governance working together. It is therefore in the spirit that today's ministerial declaration reaffirms and strengthens our cooperation as Westmed, defined in the joint actions we have in front of us, the common challenges we have, climate change amongst all, and marine biodiversity loss. We do agree it's a transition we have to go through, and therefore we need each other to understand each other's complexities and challenges, but also sharing of information, best practices, and expertise. We have key green energy hubs growing between us and the Mediterranean. Just a few weeks ago, there was Commissioner Simpson during the Med9 meeting here in Malta, promoting the Mediterranean as a hub for the creation of renewable energy. Connectivity and competitiveness are key, but also the blue skills I've mentioned a few minutes ago. The most important thing is to have the people at the very center of what we do, and that's why ocean literacy is also key in our work. The sea is our biggest natural asset, and therefore we are reaffirming our commitment to our common goals. To conclude, this edition of the Westmed High-Level Ministerial Conference is being held within the context of adoption of a new international agreement under the United Nations Convention of the Law of the Seas, the UNCLOS, of course, on the conservation and sustainable use of marine biodiversity of areas beyond national jurisdiction. And while we fully recognize the need to take action to protect our seas and oceans that are at risk due to increasing pressures, in doing so, we must also embrace the fact that they are a source of potential solutions and innovation, which can enhance our climate action efforts. This consideration is important even more now when our dependence on marine ecosystems is becoming even more critical. I now pass the floor to my counterpart, Minister for Mauritania. The floor is yours.
Merci. Monsieur le ministre d'État.
Thank you very much. The Minister of Transport of Malta, Minister, ladies and gentlemen. So for all the countries who participate to the Westmed initiative for blue economy in the West Mediterranean, I would like first of all to thank the Maltese authority for the organization of these events, which allows us to co-chair Malta. So we also had the opportunity to reaffirm the interest of our country, the Islamic Republic of Mauritania, in order to support Westmed initiative, its political engagement, and together with other strategies of the Mediterranean basin and the Atlantic strategy. So in Mauritania, the MARE Republic has known a very important development in thanks to a new framework, strategic framework, industrial framework concerning the maritime period to 2024. So for the transition for the blue economy represents a job site for this new strategic framework. So we want to underline our interest in this transition to the blue economy, between which we have the maritime planification and also a plan for other initiative, for the coastal initiative. According to this new strategic framework, the development of a maritime fishery and maritime economy will include the development of other essential tools in order to have the transition to the blue economy, and among these, the creation of a national observatory on blue economy, which will allow us to appreciate the challenges associated to blue economy and also to support the construction of decision with a different player and the maritime field. This has a special importance in the actual context of the use of maritime and coastal space, as far as, for example, as the exploitation offshore exploitation of an hydrocarbon, and towards this new strategic framework, we have the multi-sectorial development on blue economy in Mauritania. So, in consultation with all the other compartment and public entity involved, in order to underline the principle of sectorial importance that has to be at the in the heart, at the center of this development, and this includes fishery, energy, port, tourism, aquaculture, and other sectors. And our department will make all necessary efforts in order to monitor the sustainable energy and also foster the maritime activities. And this will include the strengthening of efficient management measures in order that can also include the use of certain system and tools in order for the protection of certain areas, for example, protecting areas on the Mauritanian coast. This will include diversification of certain sectors in the blue economy in Mauritania, with including the transport and also sustainable aquaculture. So, dear Minister, so the declaration for the participation of the sustainable development in the West Mediterranean is comforting, helping Mauritanian in its ambition to promote transition to blue economy. And this will also allow us to develop different synergies towards the different strategies, Atlantic and Atlantic strategies. So, dear participant to this meeting, we must also examine the efforts made for this declaration in order to renew all our engagement towards and thanks also the Malta authorities in order to thank them for allowing us to participate in this initiative. And so then also the signature of a cluster between Mauritania and Italy, which will allow us to create a partnership which will be within the Westmed initiative. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Minister Maayif, for your contribution. And I'll now invite Ms. Charlena Vitcheva, Director General Maritime Affairs and Fisheries, EU Commission, to address the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. Dear Ministers, Excellencies, dignitaries of the Westmed initiative, participating countries and colleagues. I'm really very pleased to be here today, and especially with the adoption of this third ministerial declaration under the Westmed initiative. It is highly opportune that we are here today in Malta, where it all began in 2017 under the Maltese presidency of the Council. I use the opportunity to thank you, Minister, and your team for the great hospitality. Yesterday was an extraordinary experience to show how much connected we are by this sea, the Mediterranean Sea. The European Commission's communication on the new approach for sustainable blue economy pledges actually to support the southern neighbors and to support maritime, regional and multilateral cooperation. but basically the regional one at sea basin level. It is very important for me to be here today on behalf of the Commission to show that we are really keen to deliver against this pledge in our communication on sustainable blue economy. Our southern partners are special to us. Our traditions and cultures are rich and diverse, but are so much intertwined as we are all influenced by the same sea, by the Mediterranean Sea. Many of our coastal communities depend on this sea. Bringing it back to health is therefore our common responsibility. The declaration we are endorsing today stems from this common responsibility. It is also building on 5, even 6 years of hard work that, despite the several crises, has continued unrelentlessly. And finally, it has paid off. Starting from scratch, the initiative has managed to create a forum for dialogue, a tool for securing funding, and an environment in which to work on projects together, a trust builder. What we have here is a truly successful example of North-South cooperation, of North-South partnership. Today, we renew our political support to this initiative, to the big priorities and the big goals for the future, and they were mentioned by the two ministers. I will start with decarbonization because it is at the core of the profitability of the blue economy sector. It was mentioned also the maritime spatial planning as a key enabler for anything that is developed at sea. Marine renewable energies as the solution to many of our challenges. Tackling marine pollution, biodiversity protection, training and technology transfer, maritime security and surveillance, and more. I wish to warmly thank the co-presidency. Your efforts have led to today's accomplishment. And I wish to thank once again Malta for closing the circle by reconvening this meeting today, for the great hospitality. Many thanks, Minister, again to your team. Congratulations to you all. This is yet another milestone for the Westmed initiative. Let us keep working together and coming back with joint solutions. The health and the wealth of the Mediterranean and its people depends on us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Vitcheva. I would like now to
Merci. Merci beaucoup. Je voudrais maintenant
General of the Union for the Mediterranean to take the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Minister, for the great hospitality. We are very pleased to be here in your lovely city. And I actually have a very good experience working with the Maltese Authority since 2017, where I successfully managed to have a ministerial declaration on water issue, not only for the West Med, but also for the overall 43 member states of the Union for the Mediterranean. So congratulations for the great diplomacy and for the great impact, fullness in the subject that matter our future in the Mediterranean. Mr. Minister Mohamed, Maayif, we are very happy also to join forces with you as a co-chair for the West Med, as well as a member state to the Union for the Mediterranean. My dear Vitcheva, we are very pleased also to work under your co-presidency to the Union for the Mediterranean on the issue matters. While you were speaking, I was omitting something from my speech because I don't want to repeat myself. So we at the Union for the Mediterranean are very happy to be part of this process, not only today on the declaration itself, but also to be contributing to the process through the outstanding mechanism that the Union for the Mediterranean, especially the technical people that they are supporting us, like Adriana and the team, in order to create the difference in the Mediterranean region, not by only protecting the environment. This is the only thing that we want to keep in mind, by keeping also the source of life and the source of income for our generation. Protecting the environment and enhancing the role of the blue economy on this, for us, has a double system. The first one is to alleviate the impact of the climate change and the biodiversity loss, but at the same time, we are keeping an eye in order to have this sector contributing to the sustainable development as well as to the socio-economic development in the region as a source of income. And we know all together, as the young people and old people around the table, that the most important thing is how to create jobs and how to create entrepreneurial into the Mediterranean region by maximizing the benefit for people coming from the North Africa as well as from the north of the Mediterranean and Eastern Mediterranean. The Union for the Mediterranean agenda, based on a ministerial declaration which have been ever approved in 2015, and it was fortified and renewed again in 2021 by all the ministers, including your country, because you, the 10 countries, are an integral part of the Union for the Mediterranean. We believe that we cannot tackle it at the global or regional level if we cannot do it at sub-regional level as well as at local level. So this is the belief that we are always working on with our member state. The second item that we also very happy to see it in the declaration, the issue related to the whole of society approach, the whole of government approach, the coordination between different ministries that tackling the blue economy. Because as an example, yesterday I was in Tangier with the Minister of Water of Morocco doing the mid-cap. For him, blue economy is also water sector. And I have an announcement, I don't know if Adriana will agree and the team working on that, that blue economy is not a sector. But what we are doing is to tap the potential of all other sectors and the blue side of them, and to make sure that we are contributing most important thing to the human activity, to make them sustainable, not progressive, as well as to be at the demand of our young generation that they are seeking jobs. And you know, in the Mediterranean region as a hotspot, not only from climate change, as MEDIC report and IPC report mentioned, but also it is a biodiversity hotspot. Besides, it is, I believe, it's a political hotspot, and there are also migration hotspots. Migrant, when they come across the Mediterranean, I don't think that they wanted to enjoy only maybe tourism sector. If they have the capacity to do it, they can come to enjoy the tourism at the coastal area by paying tickets and then they go back. But what they are doing, they are looking for jobs. They are looking for better life. So the Union for the Mediterranean effort, we are not mandated to tackle migration, but we are mandated to do the root cause of problems. So blue economy sector for us also, it is another answer for the issue related to the root cause of the hot potato in the Mediterranean, which is the migration and the unemployment of young people. So these elements are a key for us at the Union for the Mediterranean, and we are very happy to see them also integrated in your ministerial declaration on the 5+5. To also end my speech and not to be long on you, that we believe that beside maximizing the benefit and the income of the blue economy sector, from the port to maritime transport to the marine coastal aspects, beside the offshore renewable energy and all thematic mentioned by you, Excellency, we cannot do them if we don't follow what I call it the whole of society approach. Here is to engage the private sector. The private sector engagement in the whole sector of the blue economy are essential for its sustainability. It's essential for being fair, inclusive, and participatory. And to do so, there is two streams. The one that we go contractual, and it could we are all here having a political positions. It could be managed by haphazard, but the most important thing is to tackle it from the governance and the regulatory system. So this is what the other side we are doing, that we try to do policy influence where we can help our member state to put a contemporary governance system and a regulatory system that will better engage the private sector in a sustainable way. We were celebrating on March the signing of agreement supported by DG MARE and our Secretary General, Mr. Nasser Kamel, with the World Ocean Council. This actually stated the element that need to be done in order to best bring the private sector into the game on a sustainable manner. The last element that we noticed from the feedback from our member state, including your teams, that they are sitting at the Blue Economy Working Group, is the issue that some people said that we have a lot of money, but we cannot spend this money. There is an issue between the spending requirement and also the recipient requirement, between the checklist to be Paris relevant, to be tackling different checklists that these owner of fund that require and work in order to give their money, they put some requirement of sustainability, because any investment need to be sustainable. So the Union for the Mediterranean joined forces with the European Investment Bank, European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, in order to set up the Blue Mediterranean Partnership. The Blue Mediterranean Partnership was initially announced in Sharm el-Sheikh, COP27, with the presence of the two presidents of the banks, with our Secretary General, and also participation from the EU Commission representative and some member states, including Jordan and other countries. The Mediterranean Partnership brings together now Kingdom of Morocco, Republic of Egypt, the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan, and as a beneficiary country and as a contributor, where they will be able to not only receive the fund, but also to contribute to this funding coming from equities, private banks, as well as private sector. We have a huge support from DG MARE. DG MARE already announced some financial contribution, but the most important part of it is the political support, where we are looking forward to see, not only through the Union for the Mediterranean, but also from the bilateral mechanism that the European Union is doing with different member states, and this is, I'm sure that is done. I am in contact with many ambassadors, either in Jordan or in Egypt. I met many of the EU ambassadors, and we discussed this, and I was very happy to see that they are aware about the contribution, because the money that Europe give, it is on Team Europe, should be aligned with the policy intervention. We have received a very good confirmation from the Kingdom of Spain to put 8 million. Thanks for Spain. Today I have the chance to shake hands with the Secretary of State, and I thanked him. We received also some confirmation from Sweden, and this money also will be aligned in the same amount of Spain. We are working with France in order that the AFD will contribute, in condition that we need to make sure that the BLIF, BAMIX, and Blue Mediterranean Partnership are complementary, and this is what we are doing. Thank you very much for the whole support. Thank you very much for looking at helping us as a good example, that the 10 countries from the Mediterranean, that we can scale up this great example, successful example, and to do it for the whole Mediterranean. We are doing it on the blue economy sector, but also we can also think how to start bringing together in this dialogue platform some countries from the Eastern Mediterranean in order also to learn and to try to implement these virtue of the ministerial declaration into programming at governance, regulatory, and financial level. Thank you very much for hosting us.